Welcome back to my channel, baddies. Today, we're gonna do leopard spot rhinestones. I am very excited. This was really fun to make. We also did epoxy, we did UV resin on the handle. And today I'm gonna show you exactly how I made it. Thank you so much for showing up for another video, because if you guys didn't come to watch my tutorials, I would have no content to film. So thank you for being here. And like always, besitos. I'm pretty confident I found the perfect spray paint color base for this tumbler. It is called Driftwood and it is from Rust-Oleum. That's how I prepped my tumbler, and I'm using an alcohol ink marker in the color brown to start to define my leopard spots. If you wanted to use brown vinyl, you could, but I thought this was a little shortcut having to cut less vinyl, so I decided to go this route. I also recommend using an alcohol ink marker over using acrylic paint, because acrylic paint will chip off and that could easily, come off with your rhinestone on it. That's why I decided to use an alcohol ink marker. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set my not my rhinestones. I'm gonna set my leopard spots all over the tumbler in the areas where I want them. Now ideally, to perfectly prep this tumbler for long-lasting rhinestones, what you can do is once you have put all of your leopard spots on here, you can give it a very light sand just to kind of remove any polish off of the vinyl and off of the spray paint. That will give you a little bit more of a long-lasting product. I skipped that step, but I do want to educate you on it and inform you and let you know that glue will stick to and bond to things for a longer time if it's not a glossy surface. So it's always recommended that some people will even take Mod Podge acrylic sealer spray and spray a couple coats over their vinyl and then go over it and give it a light sanding. Like I mentioned before, I skipped that step, but I do want to educate you on it and let you know. For today's design, we are going to be using Flint's Sister Supply Shop rhinestones. They are incredible quality. I am using 3 colors. And the way I like to apply my glue and my rhinestones is I like to use paper plates. A lot of people like to use little rhinestone trays, but the reason I don't is because they're so little. They're so little, and sometimes I feel like I can't shake them around enough. It's just a personal preference for me. I feel like I have more control when I'm using my paper plates, but please, by all means, use whatever works best for you. Now, I like to apply my glue using a silicone tip pen. I really haven't seen a lot of people doing it this way, but I personally find it to be so much easier. Number one, when the glue dries, you can remove it off of the silicone tip and continue to use that pen over and over and over. And I just put a little bit of glue over a glossy surface, like in this, case you see me using my thank you card. And that's where I pick up the glue, but about every, I want to say like 10 minutes, I replace the little blob of glue just so that it doesn't dry on me. But this method has worked great for me. The little silicone tip pens that I buy from Amazon, some of them have a very pointy tip and they allow me to get in those little nooks and corners where I need to get glue into little tight spaces. It's just, this method has worked great for me. So it's kind of my go-to. Now, what you see me doing here is I am laying my brown rhinestones first, and then I'm going to go around and do the black rhinestone around the little brown center. To be honest, if I could start this tumbler again, I probably would have just gone ahead and done all of the leopard spots first and just gotten them all out of the way. But I was super excited to see everything come together, so I decided to do a few leopard spots and then start my line at the very top. But for you, if you decide to recreate this, I do recommend that you just get all of your brown spots out of the way, and then you can put your brown rhinestones away, and then go back and get all of your, black leopard spots out of the way. And then you can put your black rhinestones away, and then you just have to do everything else, all of the surrounding areas. Now, for those of you who already know how to rhinestone, you already know this, but if you're new and if you've been wanting to try rhinestoning, you feel intimidated, this is the description I always give people whenever I'm trying to show someone how to rhinestone, and it's just what makes the most sense in my opinion. You are basically kind of playing Tetris in a way. So you want to take a rhinestone of a specific size and fill that space, right? So you as you're placing your stones, you're leaving little spaces of certain sizes, and basically all you have to do is take different size rhinestones and put them in the spaces where they fit. Essentially, you are playing Tetris. It is such a satisfying thing to do. It is a very tedious process. I am not gonna lie, I did not do this tumbler in one sitting. I think it took me about a week to get it done, but I would do like 2 hours here, 2 hours there. I would take breaks in between it, and I love to watch Netflix while I'm rhinestoning because my mind is distracted and I'm just sitting here doing this repetitive thing, but I'm super entertained by what I'm watching. And I find it to be therapeutic, to be quite honest with you. It's just so fun to me. And also, you can not top the way a rhinestone tumbler looks when you're done. The shine is incredible. I can't even begin to describe it. Once you allow your entire tumbler to like dry for about 2 days and you wash it with soap and water for the first time, it just brings out an even more shiny sparkle over the stones, and it's just so pretty. So that's why I love rhinestoning. Now I'm going to show you this beautiful color that I was talking about. This is the color that I'm going to use as a filler around the entire tumbler. It is the most beautiful color ever, and it's not a color that I would have ever gravitated towards. I am a bright color, pinks and all of that type of girl. So this is a color I personally would have never picked, and it is by far one of the most beautiful stone colors I have ever seen. And it is so sparkly. Here's another tip, and not the kind of tip you get on Saturdays. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I had to throw one inappropriate thing in there, okay? It's in my DNA. This is the tip I'm going to give you. Always establish your rim. Always. Always, always, always. Because you want to make sure that that line of rhinestones going around the circumference of your rim, you want it to be straight. At the end of the day, if you finish your tumbler and your top and your bottom are not straight, it's not going to look like a job well done. And I do not say this to sound mean or anything like that. I'm just trying to teach you. And I definitely made this mistake when I didn't know how to fully rhinestone yet. When I was first learning, I kind of just did the whole entire tumbler. And then when I got to the very top, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't have enough rhinestones to fit this space. And so my rim looked very uneven and unfinished, and it had gaps that I didn't have stones that would fit in those little tiny spaces. So always establish your rim. Always. Do a little thin line of glue all around the rim. Place your rhinestones in different sizes. I'm doing scatter method. Scatter method is basically when you take a rhinestone of different sizes and just place them wherever they fit. It takes longer than honeycomb, but I love scatter method. I think it's beautiful. Now, when you're done placing all the stones on your rim, flip your cup upside down over a silicone mat and just kind of make sure your stones are all straight the way you saw me doing there with my pencil, and let it dry. Let it dry for about an hour, just to make sure that that straight line you established is not going to move around, because if you go right into rhinestoning next to it, and the glue is still wet, your stones are gonna slip and slide out of place, and you're no longer gonna have that straight line. Look at how satisfying that is. Look at that super straight line at the top that goes all the way to the edge. Like, it just looks so pretty. So it's very important that you follow that step for the top and the bottom. You wanna make sure that you do that for both the top and the bottom, and that's just gonna give you a flawless finish. Another thing I want to tell you about today's video is I am going to do this tumbler the majority in time lapses. Rhinestoning is a very tedious process, and if I sat here and blinged these leopard spots in real time, you would be here for weeks. So I'm not going to do that to you. I feel like for the most part, once you know the gist of the design that you're doing and you know how to move forward with it, it's kind of pretty self-explanatory because it is a very repetitive and very redundant process. So Be prepared for lots of time lapses, but totally satisfying and totally worth to see how it's all gonna come together. I am in love with how this cup turned out, guys. I hope you think it's cute too. This was actually my second time rhinestoning leopard spots. I was pretty intimidated, but excited. I mean, it doesn't matter how long you've been crafting. You're always going to feel nervous about trying new things. But the best advice I can always give you is don't ever be so nervous that you stop yourself from trying things, because crafting is so satisfying. And I think that sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves when we're crafting, and we worry so much about making a mistake, and it holds our creativity back because we're afraid to try things. And my personal opinion, a lot of the ways that I have come up with some of my best work has been by taking risks and telling myself, okay, well, this is either going to come out really cute or it's going to be completely hideous. But either way, we're going to give it a try. And some of my cutest stuff has come out, just taking risks like that. I do want to tell you something. I kind of regret not putting a name on this, like a name decal, just because I feel like if I would have put the word baddie in a beautiful cursive in a neon pink rhinestone, it would have been beautiful. But it's okay. It's okay. I will definitely do that with the next one. I'm kind of considering doing a rainbow design. I don't know. I'm like going through this little spurt right now where I can't stop blinging. I can't stop ordering rhinestones. I can't stop blinging things. I see something and I'm like, ooh, that disinfectant, it hasn't been blinged. Ooh, that TV remote hasn't been blinged. Wait a minute, the milk carton isn't blinged. I just want to bling everything. A lot of you baddies already bling, and you guys create the most beautiful things in the whole universe. But I do just want to tell you, please do not hold back from trying this if you've never tried rhinestoning. I remember when I first started making cups, I would see rhinestone cups and I was like, I don't know that I will ever try that because that is so intimidating to me and I just don't have the patience for that. That's the number one thing that I would tell myself. I don't have the patience for that. That's too much work. I remember I would see 3D tumblers as well, and I was like, I would never try that. I don't think I would ever be able to sculpt anything. And I have stepped out of my comfort zone multiple times and been able to create really beautiful things. So please let me be an example to you. Do not hold back from trying things, baddies. Seriously, the entire point of crafting is supposed to be to have fun. It's what we do to have a little us time. Our kids always need us, our husbands, our wives, our 3 boyfriends, whatever your situation is. I'm not judging you, but we're always needed. And sometimes we forget to put ourselves, first. Sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves or our needs or the things that we want to do. And to me, even though I do craft for a living now, I've been so blessed thanks to all of you who support me and love me as a creator, and you're here. You show up always for me. I'm so thankful for the opportunity that I was able to turn something I loved into a business. However, it didn't start that way for me, and that wasn't even my intention when I started. I never even knew that all of the things I'm doing now were ever going to be a possibility for me. I never even thought about that. It just kind of happened naturally. But I started crafting. Well, I've always crafted, but tumblers specifically, I fell in love with the process. And I love the excitement of putting something together and taking a step back and looking at what you created and saying, wow, I made that. I made that with my hands. I created that. It's a very satisfying feeling. But overall, you're supposed to be sitting in your craft room having fun, excited to be playing with glitter, excited to be creating beautiful things. And I've noticed a lot of people get so nervous that it takes away like that fun factor because people are so scared to make a mistake. Please don't be afraid to make a mistake. Please make mistakes. My goodness, I make mistakes all the time, baddies. I'm not even kidding you. Oops, hold on. I got to get back to actually teaching you. So for the handle, I am going to do UV resin. and I am using Tres Mostachos Co. She is a sweet baddie who just launched her own UV resin. I'm going to be using this for the handle of my tumbler. Now, if you notice, before I even let my rhinestones get close to the handle, I'm doing the resin first. Why? I don't want to risk getting a drop of that epoxy over any of my rhinestones, or I don't want to, like, my finger is kind of chubby. So see how I have to get like in those little corners? If I rhinestoned all the way up to the handle and then tried to do the UV resin, there's no way I wouldn't get any resin over all my other stones. So that's kind of why I want to make sure I did this before I started rhinestoning around that area. Now you can either, hold your UV lamp over your handle until it's completely dry to the touch, or you can go outside in the sun. I've been having lots of technical difficulties with this lamp that you see to the right. That's why you didn't see me show you in the video while, me using it. I just ordered a new one, but I don't get it until tomorrow. But I actually stepped out into the sun, and here in Florida, it was super sunny, and that helped my handle dry super fast. Now you see it's a little bit lumpy. I'm going to sand it down a little bit and then do clear coats of UV resin until I have a completely smooth handle. But that's pretty self-explanatory, and most of you already know how to do that. So I don't want to spend too much time on the handle. For the most part, you guys saw how I got it done. Once I have a completely smooth handle and I'm happy with how it looks, I'm going to go ahead and move on to rhinestoning around the handle. Take your time. Sometimes it can be a little, not stressful, but a little tedious to get the glue underneath the handle and do the whole little surrounding area. Just take your time. It was definitely very satisfying when I was able to get that entire area done, to see the whole thing covered in rhinestones surrounding the handle. It kind of really pulled everything together for me, and it got me super excited. I feel like, when you have a project that is big, and you hit little milestones in your project and you're like, okay, I'm so close to being done. I feel like this felt like such a long project to me that when I finally got my rhinestones to completely pass that handle and get all of that rhinestone, I was like, woo, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel now. But like I mentioned before, to me, I think rhinestones are so beautiful. So to me, it is 1,000% worth it to take that much time on a project, because you have to be patient to craft. It's you can't make something super fast, even though I am impatient for a lot of things and I rush some things. But for the most part, art takes time, and there's nothing more satisfying than have been working on a project for a few days and being able to take a step back when you finish and being like, wow, that is so beautiful. I don't know, maybe this is the pep talk we needed to hear, baddies, because Lord knows sometimes I can be hard on myself too. And Lord knows sometimes I want to try things and I'm like, no, that's a little too risky. I don't want to do that. So I just want to be here for you and make you feel like you shouldn't be so nervous to try things, because they're just cups, And if you do try something and it doesn't turn out the way that you wanted, you can just strip your tumbler and start again. But don't let your fear hold you back, because you probably could be creating such unique, incredible designs if you were just taking that risk. I still remember, when I first started doing white water slides back in the summer of 2020, it wasn't as common as it is now. I would print full images on white water slide paper and get it on my cup. And so many people would ask me, like, how did you do that? And to me, that's how I figured out that I could get images on a tumbler without it being translucent, was to use white water slide paper. Now that probably to you right now, you're like, oh my gosh, duh, yeah, that's so obvious. But back then it wasn't you didn't see a lot of cups that had full images like that around them. And I started experimenting, making, I made the Evil Queen cup, and then I made I don't know if you guys are familiar with the God of War, but I made this super cool God of War tumbler, and I started hiding the edges of my white water slide paper with alcohol ink. I started blending it with alcohol inks, and it just became like one of my favorite things to do. I don't believe that I invented that or came up with that, because I think that Somebody's always done something before us, even if we think we did it for the first time. So I never think that I came up with anything, but I do know that that's something I hadn't seen done before, and I took a risk. I was like, you know what? What if it's great? What if it turns out great? You know, and then I was like, how am I going to make these images blend into the tumbler perfectly? And when I started mixing alcohol inks to match the background of my water slides, I was like, this looks so cute. Get that. Oh, my Siri, my watch was listening to me the whole time. I was like, that is so cute. I love how that looks. And it just became like a method I obsessed with. You know what? I should probably do something like that for one of my upcoming YouTube videos, just to take it back to the old days, you know, to when I first started. But my point of this really long spiel that I'm going on is I took lots of risks and tried things that even if I hadn't seen them done before, like I mentioned before, I'm not saying they weren't done before. I'm sure they were. I'm saying I hadn't seen them. So to me, it was something new. To me, it was taking a risk. That's how I discovered so many amazing things. So please be a risk taker, be bold. Don't be afraid to try new things, and do not let the fear of messing up hold you back. You know what I'm saying, Jelly Bean? I think time lapses are so satisfying because you could sit there for 2 hours and it'll show the progress in just a few seconds. And I think it's so satisfying to start to see the little area fill up quickly. Like if I was filming this entire little section in real time, you would be able to drive across country before I was done. But the fact that it's filmed in a time lapse, it gets to show you that satisfying part of watching all of the rhinestones come together and close in and completely fill the tumbler. We're very close to the end of our tutorial, baddies. I hope that I was descriptive enough. I hope that you walked away with some good tips. Even if you are already blinging, I feel like we can always learn from each other. I know I constantly learn from you guys. You guys always share tips with me that help me, or you share tips with me that I hadn't, done before. So I feel like we can always learn from each other and always help each other. Excuse me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I love filming YouTube videos. I really do. They're a lot of work, but they are so much fun. And I love knowing that there are people that come to my channel every single week to watch my videos on Saturday. It makes me really, really happy. So thank you so much for always coming back and watching my videos, because without you, there is no me. So thank you. And here's our final product. I let this sit for about 2 days to let the glue fully dry. And then I washed it with warm water and soap. And here's how it ended up. I'll see you next time. Besitos.